Hey, everybody, welcome back to Think About Your Why Live with Maggie and I.
I got it.
Hey, we're doing some technical things right now, but that's, if you can't adapt in this market and just kind of go with the flow, right, then
we're like sharks. We have to adapt. Hi.
That's right. Del, it's good to see you. It's good
nice
to see you.
Hi, beautiful. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Yeah. I know you know Maggie, so thanks, Maggie, for getting you on the show. We're excited to talk to you, Del, and
vice versa.
Yeah, just to kind of give everybody, an initial kind of bio on you. You're the host of Del Weston on Film at the EFC Films, but I'm going to let Maggie do a proper introduction. Okay. I know she knows you, and I don't want to lose anything in translation, Maggie.
Well, I'll go ahead. I just got to say that I love Del. He's an amazing human being. He's the director of one of the largest international film festivals in Las Vegas. And I don't know if you changed in the world. But you're in Las Vegas, right? But you actually bring people from all over the world, and they get to compete for their work, their artwork, which is screenwriting, producing, filmmaking. And is it still called Action on Film, or did you change the name?
Well, it's always Action on Film is one of the festivals inside the AOF Mega Fest.
Mm-hmm.
So Action on Film, Hollywood Dreams, the News Fest, New Cinema, Conquering Disabilities, the Icon Awards, Legendary Stunts, they're all involved under one umbrella.
So Del is amazing. He's also a director, a producer, an award-winning writer. He's a show host. He's an actor. And the biggest thing is he's got the biggest heart out there. And he really is focused on helping people make a difference with their screenplays and their artwork really in this world of film. So Del, you want to start? What's your story? Tell us.
Wait, I have a quick question before we dive into his story.
Sure.
Because you said something, Del, that intrigued me. You said something, you make dreams come true. And so before we get into your backstory, because I want to hear about it, that's soulful work to make people's dream come true in an industry where it could take decades upon decades to have that dream come true. So I just want to know what the feeling is like when you really sit there and watch the energy of somebody's dream come true.
Well, I've been very, very blessed. And I say that only because I come from a very large family. I come from a mixed race family. I come from not a wealthy background at all. There was a lot of violence in my background, a lot of just tough things occurring for a very long period of time. And I'm so glad for all of those things. I mean, I'm absolutely glad because they taught me that what you need and what you want are two different things. And so when I meet people, I've been very blessed. So I'll give you an example of making someone's dream come true. Back in the late 80s, there was a guy named Fred Balderrama. He was the mayor of a city called Monterey Park, and he had hired me to run a club he was starting called the Brave Bull. And so I discovered that there was a group of people, and AIDS had just become really big and blown up in LA at that time. And I was noticing there was a lot of charity for people with AIDS, a lot of charity for people with HIV, a lot of people charity for people who were suffering but didn't know what it was from. And I had to meet an occasion where I met a man who was suffering from acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS. But he had a child, and I kept seeing that all the attention kept going to the guy, but nothing for the child. And so during the talk, I asked the guy, well, what's this youngster want for Christmas? He said, it doesn't matter, I'm dying of AIDS. And I went, oh, whoa. So I created a program at the Brave Bull where we did a deal with the radio station and the club where I could give out 10,000 tickets over a 2-year period. And what I could do is exchange those tickets for toys for these kids of parents who were suffering from HIV. So I partnered with a group out of Los Angeles. We brought all these kids together, and I did the announcements on this radio station. I think it was K-Frog was the station we used, a country station. So we filled this huge place up with nothing but toys and gifts for these kids. And so the Bull had about 200 employees. And so I made an announcement one day. I said, hey, to the employees, if you can spare something, it would be great if you can help these kids. And everyone applauded and kind of walked away. And it was a really kind of a malaise, kind of a negative thing there. So one of the waitresses came over, and she had 3 daughters. And she says, Del, I don't have a husband. I don't know how I'm going to make my bills. There is no way I can give anything to anyone at this Christmas. And I said, well, tell me, what do your daughters want for Christmas? And I'm sorry that I even asked you. She said, well, they want this, 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 and this. And she named these things that her little girls who were from the age of 2 to 7 wanted, but they weren't going to get. So I called all the employees back in the next day, and I said, who here has children? And about maybe 45% raised their hands. I said, okay, you 45% come with me. The rest of you go away. So they came with me, and I said, now I want you to go into this room, all these toys. I want every one of you to get everything your children want for Christmas, everything. And this was the day before the people with the children of HIV were supposed to come in and get all their stuff. So I was really worried there wouldn't be enough for both groups, but there was more than enough. So about 2 months later, the waitress brings her daughters in, and the littlest one said, Mr. Weston. I said, yeah. She said, I got everything I wanted for Christmas. All my dreams came true. My prayers came. And that's what it's like. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be on the grand scale. I make somebody do this or that or the other, but I champion people who do not know their power. I champion people who desire to be greater. I champion people who think the world has nothing for them. There's enough abundance in the world for all of us. There's no reason for one person to starve today. There's no reason for one person to not have medical attention today in any country. Yeah. Our desire to build greed, and our desire to have more, and our desire to control people, that forces that. So I like to reverse that model a little bit. And then with the festival, you know, it's funny. I had a woman that came up a few years ago, and it happens every year, but I had a woman, this was particular year, and she said, I've never won anything. And she had won an award at AOF, and she came over and she said, I never thought I was beautiful until I got on that stage and I got that award. Then I realized that there was a place for me here. So what I mean by that is, doesn't have to be a grand gesture. I don't need to save Paraguay from the Italian alligator lizards. Not my job. But if there's someone who just needs that little push or something else that can get them over the top to believe in themselves and in the power that God gave them and in the grace that God gave them, well, here we go. That's my job. I'm a cheerleader with great legs.
He does this with everybody in the film industry, with all types of people. Who you definitely have.
I got back. Don't forget, I said I had a tough upbringing, but that didn't mean I didn't get gifts and blessings.
Right.
And there are a few people who stick out in my life, who came through my life, who I never deserved. Never deserved. They were there for me. And so I had a guy the other day call me and he said, let me ask you a question. Every time I send something to you, you send me back twice as much. Is that going to work with a Ferrari? I don't know. Can you afford a Ferrari to give to me?
That's great.
So tell us about your backstory a little bit, just quickly, if you.
Real quick, I was just a guy who wasn't supposed to do much in life. You know, I was supposed to get a job, maybe join the military, and then move on with life, maybe have a kid or two, move on. But that wasn't the plan. There was something, I think, greater for me. And the biggest thing I ever faced, the biggest hurdle I had to cross was I had no father to teach me. I had no man to show me how to be a man, as opposed to being something else, which was what I was becoming. And I didn't have that. So learning to become something that you don't know how to be is a very difficult task. You know, forget the fact that I'm riding the bus 4 hours up and back a day to get to college. Forget the fact that I'm walking to work. Forget the fact I didn't have a car. I mean, all these things that I didn't have didn't matter. What the big problem was is I didn't know how to be what I thought I was supposed to be. So when in my early 20s, I tripped over some Nightingale Conant tape, some self-help, and some Edward Casey, and some Napoleon Hill, and some Anthony Robbins, you know, and those things really began to open the doors for me to understand that there was something greater to every individual, whether you see it or not, it still exists.
Yeah.
And that's how I began to achieve. I still don't feel I'm successful today. That's not the feeling I'm looking for. I'm looking for the feeling that I have fulfilled my purpose. And if I can do that, then I feel really, really great. I mean, in that is really my goal for my children, wife, for my friends, for my enemies even. And people say that's kind of funny. how are you blessing your enemies? Like I got into a Facebook fight this morning with a guy, and it deteriorated quickly to him calling me names and I'm gonna do this, and so I put a little smile emoji, and he went nuts. And I said, listen, if a smiley emoji sends you into a fit of rage that where you publicly denounce your own humanity in an attempt to lessen me, then maybe you might not want to be on Facebook. Take a break. Take a break, brother. You don't know who I am or what I'm capable of. You shouldn't be making threats over, the air. It's just silly for people.
Yeah.
But I see him as a bad guy. I see him as a guy who's uninvolved. He's fighting over a point that if he wins, there's no gain.
Yeah.
And if he loses, there's no gain. So he's fighting for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that mindset. Why would you fight for nothing?
Mm-hmm. So have you had any like epiphany in life? What was your greatest moment? If you had an aha moment or something.
I'll tell you a moment I had about 1.5 years ago that still resonates with me. I walk into the Mandalay Bay Hotel and I'm looking for a Starbucks, and I'm going to meet this fantastic, power-driven young woman named Maggie Cook. And I see this unassuming young, beautiful woman in a baseball cap sitting there. Must have had a gun on her hip because she looked like she was ready to shoot somebody. And I walked over, and less than 30 minutes later, we were sharing a strawberry refresher, which she hated, but she was still willing to drink with me. And I got to tell you, the ability to connect with people from every background, every group, every race, every identity is something that has been an epiphany to me, because it tells me one thing: I understand something. And what I understand is the beauty of every person I've ever met. So that's been my epiphany for a little while, because it's still amazing me, right? So when Maggie calls or I call her, I'm still amazed that after 1.5 years, we're still in communication and we still have the same amount of love, respect, kindness, and charity for one another. Now, I don't know her background. I didn't live where she lived. I don't speak the language she was raised. It's of no consequence. But the humanity between us that is shared is so overwhelmingly beautiful that I'll know her for the rest of my life. And in that, I am responsible then for my behavior towards her. You understand? So you have to take into account. Now I know John, right? So John and I'll talk and we'll get to know each other. It's going to be great. And I'll promote him and I'll do a story of him in my magazine, and he's going to do this and all these things, right? All these things. But it comes from my responsibility to Maggie in order to treat you well. And I think people miss that so often. It's that little tiny spark between two people that leads to everything good. So that's the personal power. Two things are.
I love everything you're talking about. It's it rings at such a high frequency and such a high vibration. And I just want to share one thing. When I was 18 years old, my dad gave me a set of tapes. That's Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Success.
Oh yeah, man.
And he said to me, Jonathan, you will learn more. You will do well in college, but you'll learn more from these people than you will school. And I become 48 today, and there has not been a day over the last 30 years I have not listened, read, and absorbed something from all of the greats because of what my dad set me on. From the minute I was 18, I knew I wanted to be a business coach after listening to Brian Tracy. It set me on such a page. And I bring it up because you brought it up. I wanted to share my story with it, because the power to change your narrative is in those tapes, right? For free on a podcast, for $9.95 in a book. There's so much knowledge that that you can really kind of evolve yourself. But some people are stuck. And so when you talk about finding the power and finding the champion when people don't know their power, I just want to go back to a tool that you can provide everyone for them to kind of surrender and begin to change their narrative, right? So we kind of glossed over the tool for someone who doesn't necessarily know how to do it. Can you provide what you think is the tool to kind of like stop, like go to that smiley face guy? What tool, if you had the opportunity, would you give him to say, pause, slow down, get back to your center, and surrender? Let me give you feedback, receive it, and change the narrative of what you're hearing and saying.
Well, see, that's the first thing. right, is discerning who deserves that knowledge and who does not. Because he is just not in a place where he's ready to hear that. He's emotional. He's angry. So much so that he's willing to reach out to a person he has no knowledge of over an emoji.
Yeah.
Go nuts. So that's a person who's not ready for enlightenment or for structure yet. That's a person who's still stuck in their own ego. And when you're stuck in ego, there is absolutely no way to learn from anyone else. So the first step for me is discernment, because a lot of people come to me and we do great things together. And a lot of people come to me and I say goodbye the next day.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, for me, like right now, I'm working with a young actress named Erin Miracle. And she was telling, in fact, I met her the same time I met Maggie. And what occurred was we were in this beautiful room. It was a Chinese restaurant, but it was hot, man. I mean, it was hot. And so I'm a big guy and I'm standing there and I'm sweating. And I see this person who I do not know. She's coming to the stage and she hands me a napkin and then a glass of water. And then she's helping someone to the stage. I said, who is this? I mean, is she going to shoot me or something later? She's just getting close. Well, it turns out it was this young lady. She said, listen, I saw you need a little help, so I gave it to you. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you your own movie. She's like, what? I'm going to put you in your own feature film. You're the star. She says, get out of here. I said, no, I'm telling you the truth. So we spoke 3 or 4 more times. And then 4 months ago, I called her. I said, the movie's called Old King Cole. Here's the script. We're shooting in 2 months. We shot and wrapped the film 3 weeks ago.
Amazing.
It's now in post-production. So Erin was ready for someone to say, okay, I see your talent, I see your beauty, I see your drive, but more than anything, I see the power that it takes to have faith that if you give, you get. That if you offer, you will receive. That if you accept, then you're probably worthy of giving. So it works each way. And she was, and I got to tell you, we shot over a 15-day period. We literally had a DP who flew in from Florida. And this guy was so amazing. He was weird. His name is D.A. Jackson. Now, this is a very spiritual guy. His diet is 2 bottles of water and 1 apple per day. He fasts every single day on production, and then he works 12 to 14 hours a day. The most amazing individual. And those are the people I surround myself with now. People who are looking for ways to drive themselves into that higher region of success for themselves, which of course is doing their purpose. So she had everything. And then the locations that made themselves available, some of the financing that made itself available. This young lady, off of that gesture and off of being ready, got everything she asked for. And she put some new pictures up on Facebook 2 days ago. I said, these pictures look different. And she said, I hope I'm not talking out of school. Erin, I don't mean to embarrass you. But she said, I didn't know how beautiful I was until you guys told me, until I saw what you told me I was. And I said, well, I didn't know how fat and sweaty I was till you gave me that napkin and that glass of water.
That's great.
That's great. Hey, Del, I know you're coming up with a magazine soon.
Yeah.
And it's going to be based on superheroes.
Well, it's actually our end of year all action special. And we launched the magazine a year and a half ago. It was only supposed to be like a 50-page magazine. And someone had said, you think you're so smart, you do this, you don't even have a magazine. I got a magazine. I was just joking. So I put something together in like 2 days and put it out. People, oh, that's kind of nice. Well, that was a year and a half ago. This 40-page thing came out. Well, this month, we have our all action edition. It's 360 pages, almost 40 profiles of incredible people. But because of the action that they've taken in their lives, we're turning each person into a superhero. So all the cover stories will have them as superheroes. We did a test of that a few months ago with a filmmaker, and we turned her into Captain Marvel, and it worked really well. And I thought to myself, all these people are super. Anyone in this month, they have done things to give them that qualification of a hero to me. And I want them to know that they may not be a hero to the world, but they're a hero to me. So here you go.
So what would you say if you could think of if you could talk about your superpower, what do you think it is?
Intuition, I think.
I think you're a dream maker.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, but I think the intuition to understand what people are saying and when they voice their needs, mm-hmm. I get it, right? Mm-hmm. The other part of talking is listening, and I think that if you'll listen very intently to what people say, they tell you everything. Mm-hmm. And you're a great example of that, Maggie, because I knew you for about 15 minutes. And You know, it was funny. We ended up at the Palms talking till 3 or 4 in the morning after our first meeting that early, and it was like someone I had known forever. And that's
Mhm.
that it's listening, you know. And you had such a beautiful story and such magnificent energy. Man, I got to get me some of that. That's like being that's like going to the North Pole and it's cold and it's frozen and you see this beautiful fire and there's a reindeer and Santa comes around with some hot chocolate and cookies. That's what you are. You're like Santa, Maggie
Yeah,
Cook.
Maggie is like Santa. So, Dell, I want to share my story for a minute.
No,
I met Maggie. I was at an event. There was, what was there, maybe 150 people, Maggie, and Maggie gets up there. I didn't know Maggie Cook from anyone. She gets up there and she starts telling her story, and there was 150 people. You could hear a pin drop.
Mhm.
Her story was so inspiring to everybody in that room. This was like kind of like this event that happened twice a year. If I run into people and I'll say, do I know you from this such and such event? And they would say, I don't know, were you at the Maggie Cook one? I mean, it's always, it goes back to Maggie Cook. And I called Maggie after that. I said, Maggie, I got to have coffee with you and get to know you a little bit more because your story is so inspiring. And what I love about Maggie is she's so grounded and willing to share and give everything, just like you are. But here's my question for you. Can you learn that, or are you born with it?
Everything is learned. I am fully convinced that yes, there is an innate knowledge in us that comes from our DNA and from our ancestors. Like, you know, instinctively certain things to do. A child knows where to find its mother's breast, right? You don't have to teach them that. They're going to find it one way or the other. And you don't have to teach a child how to lie. That's instant with every child. We know that right? You have to.
I have a 14 and 17-year-old. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. So, the learning that we do is actually an unlearning of what we've been taught. And what we've been taught is it starts with the mother pointing down at you with her finger pointing down and saying, no, no, no. And your father shaking his head, no, no, no. And I had done a documentary on an art form called Kyusho, which is a fighting art that uses energy. And the creator of that system, his name is George Dillman. I went to disprove it. I was a skeptic. I'm not going to prove it. I just want to say that it's a bunch of garbage because I'm really into what's real. So when I get there, he starts talking about Muhammad Ali. And what Muhammad Ali would do was he would always wave his opponent with his left hand. He would wave the hand up and then down, up and then down. And what that was mimicking was your mother and father or a person in authority looking down at you saying no and pointing down. So he found that after a few rounds, his opponent's hands would start to drop.
Wow.
That's why he was a headhunter. And so he used that technique. So what I like to say is when you ask, is it learned or is it innate? Everything is learned. You know, no one came out being a psychologist or a forensic psychologist or a surgeon or whatever they're going to be. All that's learned. What we have to unlearn are the untruths that we are taught by the people who came before us who just simply didn't know the truth.
Yeah.
They gave us the best they had, but that's what they had.
Yeah.
And there's such an air of enlightenment in the last 20 years. There's been such an air of enlightenment in the world where all the boundaries have been broken down between communication, wealth, understanding, sex. Everything is different now than it was 20 years ago. It'll be different again 20 years from now, so let's get ready for that. But we have to learn. You have to learn the internet. You have to learn the communication skills. Now children have to be taught social skills because they've been on the internet for 20 years and they have no social skills.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of learn. Everything is learned. Well, what do you think? Am I hitting on anything there for you? Does it resonate with you?
No, I mean, that completely resonates with me. I mean, I'm obsessed with learning, with reading and with talking to people. I love to read, but I'm very auditory. So I learn a lot by talking with people and listening to podcasts and listening to books. And I feel like there's nothing that I can't learn. Just some things take me longer to learn or longer to unlearn. But that's what I have my therapist for, right? So it's right?
Not therapy. I think therapy is excellent for people.
Yeah.
Again, they want to go to a higher level. But I do want to tell you something about learning. We put together something called the Council, and it was Maggie Cook, Susan Stafford, who's the great host of the Wheel of Fortune. She became a volunteer for Mother Teresa, and then she went on to produce, I think, 1,000 different air television shows. And then we had the great Robert Goldman, who's one of the largest philanthropists, billionaires in the world, who's now become a friend of mine. And then Lee Broda, super producer. So what I did was took those 4 people and I put them in a room of about 60 seats in a theater. And I gave people a chance to meet these dynamic people, to learn from them. And here's what I found out. Nobody understood what we were doing. They didn't get it. They had these dynamic, forceful, powerful, successful people 5 feet from them, but they didn't understand that we were trying to give you an opportunity to learn.
Mm-hmm.
2 people came up to me afterwards and goes, hey, you think we can squeeze them for a little money? I said, we can't do that, but I can ask you to leave because I never want to see you again. You didn't get it.
Yeah.
You didn't, you are unwilling to learn. That really taught me a lesson. And so now we've done it. It's called the Life Council.
I love
We're
it.
doing it in 2021, but it's being done differently now. You can't just walk in. You have to send in for an invitation. You've got to pay a certain amount of money, and then people will value the education you'd like to give them. But when it's free, man, people don't want it.
Yeah. You know, studies show that 87% of people vibrate at a very low level and are very stuck there. And that's just scientific data. And I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. You know, there has to be an energy exchange of some level, right? And so I find the same thing. If you give something away for free and there's not some type of energy exchange, it really backfires in a way.
You can't do it. And that even comes to friendships. You know, I've noticed now that a lot of the people I used to hang with years and years ago, I never see them anymore. And it's not that I've cut them off because I'm better at anything else, but my most well-liked post so far from 2020 was just a few things. And it said, I did not unfriend you because of your opinion. I unfriended you because you're an a-hole. And people love that post. And I go, why would people? And then it dawned on me for a second, because no one tells the truth anymore. It's a phony, false world. And so when I did that, I wasn't saying they were an a-hole to me. I witnessed them being a horrible a-hole to someone else. And that's what got me.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, why would I have someone who would treat someone that way in anything that I'm working on, even on a social media site? So, I mean, I think I unfriended 700 people at one time. And then it was full again like 2 weeks later, so it was fine. But, you know, it's funny. You know, people need to pay for what they get. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dale, what would you say is your ultimate why? What is your reason for living?
You know, I'm just discovering that. I recently, I moved to Vegas 5 years ago. I'd come here literally to die. I was at 455 pounds. I had a heart condition. I'd been in the hospital 6-8 times. And I said, I'm just going to go to Vegas. I'll die. My wife can have the insurance. She'll get a little surgery. She'll meet a guy. She'll marry a doctor. My kids will be. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that way. I was just done. And when I got here, something happened. I got a house. And outside the house, every day, I had this mountain range. And there's nothing more beautiful than these mountain ranges here in Nevada. And one morning, about maybe 4 a.m, I'm sitting there, and then a few minutes pass, and it's 5:30, and I literally see God's grace as the sun rises. I go, oh, that's why I'm here. I could not succeed where I was because he wanted to show me this image of his sunrise from that angle of that second story of this house on this particular street on this particular day. And when I saw it, something clicked, and I ran to YouTube and I began studying the Zohar, the Talmud, the Quran, the Bible in ways I never looked at those texts before. And I discovered ultimate why. It's to serve him. And in order to serve him, I have to serve everyone that he sends to me, right? Because that's my job. I'm not supposed to be the top. I'm not supposed to be the bottom. I'm just supposed to be in the middle where I can assist those from the bottom going higher and those who are falling down get back to where they were. It's as simple as that. So that's why we show 500 movies a year so we can praise and award hundreds of people a year. You know, a lot of festivals, they go out and they have 10,000 submissions. They show 20 films and they give away one prize. That is ridiculous. Are you telling me all those other people don't deserve some type of acknowledgement and love and praise? It makes no sense. So I flipped that model. And so we show 500 movies, and we do have 116 categories in 2 different shows for a total of 232 people being honored every single year. And that's just on the people who are not famous. We've matched with Dr. Robert Goldman and Michael DePasquale Jr. to create the Icon Awards and Legendary Stunt Awards. So we've had everyone there, from Eric Bana to Mark Ruffalo to Talia Shire on down, Kim Coates. Everyone's been there. And they continue to come, not because they're going to be honored, but because they're going to see people who deserve to be honored. Mm-hmm. And that's a very, very interesting thing. The magazine is the same thing. The top 100 books that I produce, the top 100 indie filmmakers, the top 100 indie writers, I've been doing those for years. And now the magazine is just an extension of that. And you're going to see a new thing happening very soon. We've been very, very lucky and blessed. And you're going to see us honoring quite a few more people in a very short period of time with a promotion that I think is very, very valuable for a lot of people, especially the young people. And you can learn a little bit about that at something called thegiftedgroup.org, thegiftedgroup.org. That's a charity I began running 20 some odd years ago, where I would take a youngster, not a child, but a youngster, someone in that 15 to 18 range, and we would adopt them in a way and then either mentor them, give them an internship, and then help them get pushed forward. And one of the most successful people from that group is a ABC White House correspondent named Rachel V. Scott. She got her start with us, and she always tells people, man, if it wasn't for Del OF, I don't know what I would. But we've done that with quite a few people, and we continue to do it. So it's a good thing.
You're a dream maker.
You are a dream maker, and in a time that for many feels very dark, and you're bringing so much light into the world in so many different lanes, and opening up the door for so many opportunities for so many dreamers, right? So it's not, what I love about what you're talking about is that you're not just a dream maker for one person, you're a dream maker for for just collections, just dozens and hundreds of people. That's special work. That's special work.
Can you imagine getting to your last day? I mean, just imagine for a second. It's your last day on earth. You know you're going to go, and you get a chance to turn around and see 2 lines of people. One line is everyone you hurt, and the other line is everyone you helped. I want to get to a point where that line that I hurt is so small, right, that maybe it's just my ex-wife and her sister. Sorry, girls, I was drunk that night. And in the other line, it is all these magnificent people who've shown their light to God. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. That in itself, I couldn't ask for more.
That's a drop mic moment, Del. That's a drop mic moment. Can we do a quick speed round, Del?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. What's the best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Ed Castro, 1986, a man who loaned me $50,000 without even knowing me. He'd met me once and said I was a nice guy, and if he could help me, call him. I called him. He came over with an envelope with $50,000 in it. He put a pen on the edge of the desk where he was giving me the money and said, move that pen from this side of the desk to that side of the desk. And I said, why? He said, how stupid are you? When someone who loves you and supports you asks you to do something, right? Don't ask why. Just take and follow the instruction.
Yeah.
More people could just take and follow the instruction. Oh my God, what a world it would be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Deep.
Yeah, so deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything you say is deep. Meg, you got a question for Del?
I think just everything that you are, and I'm just so happy to have known you. I think that nothing is by accident. Everything, it has a purpose, and we actually we met each other by mutual people that we knew, and it just turned out to be this amazing thing. And we're working together now on some couple of things. We probably hush hush right now, but
Oh, for you, it's going to blow your mind. You'll see.
but I just think it's going to continue to do what you're doing. You know, I love inspiring people and making a difference and changing people's lives. And I just think you're an amazing spiritual being in this time, in this earth right now. And I really thank God for your existence.
Well, I'll tell you, I never felt that way myself until the last 60 months when I discovered that there is something much greater than I could ever become and much better than I could ever hope to be. And he still smiles down at all of us with the same opportunity to say, come on in, I got a place for you.
Yeah.
It took a lot of pain and a lot of suffering to get to that point. And now I can't sing it loud enough. Everyone has value. Everyone has worth. And that is because they are created with his spark. And we cannot just down and destroy people for the sake of power or ego or money or whatever. You have to understand you have the ability to lift someone today higher than you've ever been. And in that you are perfection and you do model God. We are created in his image. And that means that we have a choice every single day in what we're going to do. And some of us just make bad choices. But that don't, a lot more of them are making good choices. Thank God for that.
I think you need to be a preacher. I want to scream out, amen, hallelujah. This is, I wasn't sure what to expect. Maggie said you were the greatest human on earth. And I trust Maggie completely. But this was great. It's always, I love podcasting and meeting new people and talking to them because it's like a mini master's class. And today felt like a mini PhD. And one of the things that I think was so inspiring is I think the three of us have a lot in common, but when you are a giver and you're in your light, sometimes you think to yourself, this is a lot of work, right? And this is a lot of work. And you kind of infuse, I think, to that person who's kind of feeling overwhelmed by being in that space to just keep going and keep going and keep giving and keep giving. So
alternative to a lot of work.
Yeah.
Nothing and passing being nothing.
Yeah.
What's the alternative? I always ask myself that. What's the alternative to me not doing this? What's the alternative? And the alternative always comes out, there's nothing. The alternative is nothing.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
Right.
You got to try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Try.
I love it. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
DellWeston.com. DellWeston.com. That's all you need. You can find out about all my work. You can contact me. I do a deal where if young producers or filmmakers are looking for a way and they're not sure what to do, I do a half-an-hour consultation for free. I'll give them any advice I can give them on making a project or writing a script or whatever they need or helping them. And I'm doing a really great project. There's an award-winning writer named Michael Hogan who I'm working with now in a new film called Breaking and Entering. This guy, I think, has had over 150 wins for his scripts in the last couple of years. And we partnered up to create this really beautiful piece, which will be shooting in LA in January. And I just want people to know that, yeah, COVID's tough. And yeah, life is tough. And yeah, you may have lost your job. But what you did not lose was your creativity and your desire to create and to be. And if you'll just put a little effort behind that desire, you don't know what you're going to get out of it. It could be amazing. I guarantee it won't be failure. It'll be something good. No matter how small, it'll be something good.
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough, Del. This was
thank you for the opportunity. What a blessing.
Yeah. Opportunity. I'm thanking you. Thank you for the opportunity to just connect with you and learn from you. And I always learn from Maggie every time we talk. But I appreciate everything that you shared and your valuable time and the energy and light that you're putting into the world. We need it more and more every day. And nothing fights darkness than a ton of bright light. So I can't thank you enough. I'm going to let Maggie close, but stay on after
Absolutely.
We go off the air because I want to chat some more offline.
Yes, sir.
Maggie, take us home.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Del. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Even sometimes if we just get a little small phone call or a text, you lighten my world, really. And I can't thank you enough for being in this little live. And I'm looking forward to doing amazing things with you. And everybody, this is Del. reach out to him. If you feel like you need to get connected, it's a bright light that needs to be in your life. This is the man to go to if you're in that same.
Can I ask one question before we wrap up?
Sure.
Yeah.
And this question's for John.
Yeah.
Is it weird that I collect all of Maggie's workout videos and I watch them twice?
It's not weird. It's not weird if you actually do the workout.
I got to tell you something. I look at her and I think to myself, what I could have been.
She's a badass. I know. She posts, yeah.
You want to talk about physical?
You can do it, Dale. I mean, you've lost a lot of weight. You look great.
I'm not going to mention your nickname, Maggie. But you are it. I'm going to tell you right now. You can tell John that later. Thank you.
Stay on, Del. Stay on, Maggie. Stay on. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Del, thanks again for sharing your why, what drives you, and thank you for all the soulful work you're putting into the universe. Maggie, you as well, always. And thanks, everybody. Del, Maggie, stay on. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys, thank you.